For me, it is the condition of whatever knowledge we are seeking. The passion with which my mother was reading stories for me when I was very, very young. The passion of my professor of Arabic language in elementary school reading poetry. This passion made me encounter the beauty and made me decide to study the Arabic language and literature. So my teacher, my mother, my grandfather, these people were very passionate about literature, and this made me live with them this beauty and decide at the end to dedicate my life to study these forms of beauty. Beauty is something that you have to live. It should be lived, even in academia. So I am lucky because I study one of the most ancient forms of beauty that has also the second character of beauty, that it's a solid way towards knowledge. You can say that humanity has manifest always its religious feeling, its feeling towards mystery in a form of beauty. So this is the second characteristic of beauty. Not only the passion that brings you in an encounter with another person, but also it's a way, it's a method towards knowledge. I study also religious studies because we study, my field is Arabic language and literature and Islamic studies. But I noticed that the extreme forms of religiosity in Islam are neglecting beauty. There are two types of religiosity in Islamic tradition. One type is centered around purity. Some people are religious because they want to be pure, and to protect yourself from the impurity, you have to follow rules, sharia, laws. Okay, so when purity is the main value in a religious tradition, the second important thing is the law, the religious law and rules. But there is another form of religiosity, and thank God it's the most diffused one in the Islamic tradition, in popular religious tradition, in Sufi tradition, that is centered around beauty. And when beauty is the center, the second value comes in response to this value of beauty is forgiveness. Because beauty is an adventure. And looking for beauty, you will definitely do something wrong. But you shouldn't be afraid, because God is going to forgive you, because you were looking for beauty, you were searching for beauty. And this is something particular about beauty that unites all of us, despite our color, religion, ideology, whatever, economical level, whatever. For me, it is the condition of whatever knowledge we are seeking. Scientific, non-scientific, whatever knowledge we are seeking, the fuel that makes you able to move forward is this passion. And the passion is, the manifestation of an encounter with beauty. So in my childhood, it was not about the content. Maybe today, for my ideas about poetry, what my grandfather used to read for me is something silly. But what I remember is not the content. What I remember is the passion. I remember how his eyes, was, shining, while how his voice, the rhythm of what he was reading. This is what remains, in my heart. But of course, I changed my idea about poetry 1,000,000 times in my career. And it's always because something is able to trigger, this passion inside you, and this passion makes you see something, see beyond. As an example, all Sufi tradition in Islam, like Ibn Rumi, for example, is famous worldwide of his very insightful sentences. And of course, this man was not limiting his religious experience, his religious desire to the rules of the Sharia. Because when you are limiting yourself to rules, you reproduce again and again forever a specific stereotype. Okay? But when you are astonished by beauty, when you are looking for beauty, you can generate a lot of new forms. And this is the eternity, because the eternity is the ability of generating continuously new forms of what we believe, of what we live, of what we have encountered. Because an encounter is not an event that has limits in space and time. An encounter is a window. With an open eye, you can keep seeing new horizons. There is an Egyptian poet called Salah Abdul Saboor. He is, in my opinion, one of the greatest poets ever. Because again, for him, the biggest question was the man. يستيقظ الشيء الحزين في المساء يمور في الأطراف والأعضاء يثقل النظرة والنبرة والإيماء لكنه حنون. He speaks about, sometimes at night this sadness wake up and it's like it's boil in your blood, in your organs, but at a certain moment you feel its tenderness. Because sadness can be also a window that help us to discover ourselves. This is one of, for example, his poetry is always immersed in human drama, and you can always liberate yourself from this human drama by encounter that made you see beyond this drama. And this is something, the beauty is not an art. The beauty is not a science, in my opinion. The beauty is an everyday practice. But we can discover it, we can see it. It's always in front of our eyes, but we need a gaze. It's always a different gaze to realities that reveal for you something that you have never met. We are an infinity. So we cannot define and limit our existence, limit our identity to only one thing. And the role of beauty is to make us able to see this infinity in ourselves.